welcome to our students, our faculty, our instructional staff, our staff, trustees, Ursulines, friends of the College of New Rochelle, and a very special warm welcome to Father Chisholm, the rector of St. Charles Borromeo Church. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. There have been many moments in the life of being the president of the College of New Rochelle that I feel especially blessed, proud, and honored. And tonight is one of those really exceptional and special moments. This evening, we are especially blessed to have with us one of the most powerful women in banking and finance, a Wall Street powerhouse, Dr. Carla A. Harris. Carla has been recognized as American Banker's 25 most powerful women in finance, Black Enterprise's top 75 most powerful women in business. There's more. Essence Magazine's list of the 50 women who are shaping the world, and Fortune's list of the 50 most powerful Black executives in corporate America. Carla did her undergraduate studies in economics at Harvard University, graduating magna cum laude, and also earned her MBA at Harvard. She's currently the managing director and senior client advisor at Morgan Stanley. And if all that weren't enough, Carla shares her powerful voice not only on Wall Street, but in both the Mark Howell Singers and the Gospel Lights Choir of St. Charles Borromeo Church in Harlem. And she's also performed concerts at Lincoln Center and Carnegie Hall. Last May at commencement at Radio City Music Hall, Carla gave us the supreme privilege of conferring the college's honorary doctorate degree and graced us with one of the most empowering, inspiring, energizing, and motivating speeches about tools and strategies for succeeding in the workplace. She really hit it out of the park. But she left us wanting and needing more, which is why she's here with us tonight. When Carla began her career, there was very little information and advice to those just starting out. In her book, Expect to Win, she provides explicit instructions, invaluable step-by-step advice, and lessons that she has learned from her successes and her mistakes. She shares Carla's pearls with her readers, illustrating in her own words the evidence of the importance of using all of one's gifts and talents in the context of an integrated life. Her message, sometimes in word but most often in deeds, is what she terms the multiplier effect. God has given great gifts to her, and she in turn gives her best to others, and they in turn will give to still others. Her gifts thus shared are multiplied many times over. She lives the gospel mandate, to whom much is given, much is required. Tonight, she generously joins us to share with you, our students, advice about the importance of using all of one's gifts and talents to achieve success in an integrated life. And the timing couldn't be any better, as many of you 6 weeks from now will be graduating, walking across the stage of Radio City Music Hall and entering or returning to the workforce or seeking new or advanced careers. It is her firm belief that we are blessed so that we can be a blessing to others. And tonight I feel especially blessed in welcoming Dr. Carla Harris to the College of New Rochelle.
President Huntington for that wonderful introduction. And good evening, College of New Rochelle. I'm so honored and privileged to be here tonight, and I gotta tell you, frankly, the right word is excited. I am so excited to be here tonight because, as a few of my friends know, Tiffany and others, there are very few things that I enjoy more than talking about what I like to call Carla's pearls. As I like to call them, my hard-earned and hard-earned pearls. After being a woman, and frankly a woman of color on Wall Street for 25 years. Yeah. Amen for that. I dare say that I have learned a few things about not only surviving, but more importantly, thriving in the seat that you sit in or the seat that you aspire to sit in. Because after all, if you're going to choose to exercise your power to do anything, you should do it in a way that you maximize your success. As I'm fond of saying, the most valuable thing in your life is your time. You can get some more money. You can get another car, another house, and yes, ladies, another pair of Christian Louboutins. But you will never be able to get more time. So you should always spend your time in a way that you get the maximum return on your time spent, because it is very valuable. And while I'm on that point, let me say thank you for choosing to spend some of your time with me tonight, because it is indeed an honor. Now, as you have heard, I had the privilege of writing a book called Expect to Win 4 years ago. And I've had the privilege since then of, frankly speaking, all over the world, but most often in Fortune 500 companies, on college campuses, MBA programs, professional conferences, and over and over and over, people have asked me, why did you write this book? Why are you so honest about everything that happened in your career? And I'll tell you why. That when I walked out of the lauded halls of Harvard undergrad, I really thought that your success only depended on how smart you are and how hard you work. Those were the two components, and only the two components, to maximizing your success. Yet, when I started my career, it didn't quite work out that way. You see, I thought I was pretty smart. Magna cum laude, Harvard undergrad, second year honors, Harvard Business School, pretty smart, right? I'm from the South, so I knew there were very few boys that could outwork me. The combination of the two did not equal maximizing my success. So I had to ask myself, what's missing? What's missing in this success equation? So being the anal person that I am, I went to the dictionary and I looked up the word meritocracy. And I don't care whose dictionary you go to. If you look up the word meritocracy, you will find the word objective somewhere in that definition. Yet, in all of our evaluative equations, there is a human element. And if there is a human element, by definition, it is subjective. It cannot be 100% meritocratic. So what are some of those other things that make up your success equation? And that's what I want to spend a few minutes talking about tonight. Now, you've heard I've been on Wall Street for 25 and a half years, so I am an old deal-making gal, so can I make a deal with you tonight, College of New Rochelle? Yes! And the deal is, I will agree to tell you exactly how it is if you will agree to ask me anything that's on your mind when we get to Q&A. Do we have a deal? Yes. Okay. So let's get started. The first pearl that I would like to leave you with tonight, and do not be fooled when you read the book and you see that it is chapter 4, because it is the most important thing that I learned after 25 and a half years on the street. And that is, perception is the co-pilot to reality. How people perceive you will directly impact how they deal with you. Yes, your success has something to do with the reality of how hard you work. Yes, it has something to do with the reality of how smart you are, but a very big component of your success equation in any environment is the perception that the marketplace has about you. What lens are they looking through when they are looking at you? And if you want to maximize your success, it's important that you understand the macro definition of success. How does your organization define success? And the micro definition of success. How does your direct boss think about success if you want to maximize your success in that role? And more importantly, you must understand the adjectives that are associated with success for the seat that you're sitting in or the seat that you aspire to sit in. What words do they use when they are talking about a superstar in that environment? If you don't understand how they are thinking about success, you can work really hard, but you won't maximize your success in that role because you are working in a way that is inconsistent with the way they are thinking about success. And the perception point is very important because if you would like, for example, to manage a large group of people, but you are not perceived as being motivational or inspirational, it doesn't matter that you can. It doesn't even matter that you did. If you are not perceived as being able to do that, you won't get the opportunity to do that. If you'd like to manage a P&L, but you are not perceived as being analytical and quantitative, doesn't matter that you can, doesn't matter that you did, you won't get the opportunity to do that. Now, people say to me all the time, I am who I am, Carla. I can't make anybody think about me in a certain way. If you remember nothing else that I said tonight, remember that you can train people to think about you in the way that you want them to think about you. And how do you do that? You pick 3 adjectives that you would like people to use to describe you when you are not in the room. And why do I say when you're not in the room? It's because all of the important decisions about your career will be made when you are not in the room. Compensation decisions will be made when you're not in the room. Promotion decisions will be made when you're not in the room. And new assignments will be given out when you are not in the room. So how do you want people to describe you when you're not in the room? Pick 3 adjectives that are absolutely consistent with who you really are. Because I'm a big fan of the authenticity point. Nobody can be you the way that you can be you. It is your distinct competitive advantage. So pick 3 adjectives that are consistent with who you really are. However, pick 3 adjectives that are also valued in your organization. And if you don't know what's valued in your organization, you can go to the organization's website. There isn't an organization today that doesn't describe itself or its values on the website. And if they don't, think about what they told you when they hired you. Oh, Brenda, we hired you for the following 3 reasons. Oh, Janet, we beat out these 2 candidates for these 4 reasons. They told you then what they valued about you. So the trick is to continue to improve upon that which they value. The 3 adjectives that are consistent with who you really are, the 3 adjectives that are valued in your organization, where they intersect is how you must behave consistently if you want to train people to think about you in a certain way. Consistent behavior around those 3 adjectives. My big aha moment, and the story that I love to tell, and Tiffany's heard this story dozens of times, but I tell it every time I have the privilege of standing in front of a group of people because it was indeed my aha moment. 5 to 6 years into my career, I had a very senior managing director say to me, you know, you're smart, you work hard, but I don't think you're tough enough for this business. And my first reaction was, what does he smoke? You can call Carla Harris a lot of things, but ain't tough, ain't one of them. But then I said, wait a minute, suppose this guy's not pulling my leg. Suppose he really doesn't think that I'm tough enough for this business. And heaven forbid, suppose the rest of the organization doesn't think that I'm tough enough for this business. And as you might imagine, the last thing that you want to be thought of as a woman, and a woman on Wall Street, is not tough. So after I got that feedback, I said, okay, I know what I'll do. For 90 days, I decided I would walk tough, talk tough, eat tough, drink tough, use tough in my language. Because it's important that if you want to train people to think about you in a certain way, you must have consistent behavior around those 3 adjectives. Now, I had a reputation of being very good at critiquing management presentations. So before we would take a company on the road for a $1 billion IPO or a multi-$100 million common stock transaction, my colleagues would often ask me to come into the room and listen to that CEO's presentation and give that CEO some feedback, even when it wasn't my deal. So the next time someone asked me to do that, after I had gotten that feedback, I said, wait a minute, Tell me a little bit about this CEO. Is this guy sensitive? Does he have a thin skin? I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but you know I'm tough. I kept using this language over and over and over to describe myself. Because it's important that you use these adjectives in your environment, particularly when you are speaking about yourself, if you want to train them to think about you in a certain way. But it is imperative that you understand the adjectives that are associated with success. So for example, if you're going to better describe you as quantitative, analytical, if you're going to be in a marketing role, people better say that you are creative, out-of-the-box thinker. If you're going to be in a sales role, people better say that you are commercial, relationship-oriented. What are the adjectives that are associated with success? And oh, by the way, if you want to maximize your success in the seat that you're sitting in, or the seat that you aspire to sit in, you must understand what you are playing for. Most of us go into our jobs and we put our head down and we work really hard and we're really focused and we're really loyal and we think everything is going to work out and that's all we need to do because everybody will realize we're working hard and we're loyal and they will reward us. But it doesn't work out that way. Because if you are working in a way that's inconsistent with the way they're thinking about success, you won't be valued in that organization. And if you know what you are playing for, i.e. what it takes to get to the next pay level, what it takes to get to the next promotion level, now you know what you're playing for and you can stay motivated and inspired to deliver excellence. But when you don't know what you're playing for, it's very easy for you to get distracted by what I like to call outside atmospheric disturbances. What's going on in the broader economy or what's going on in your political economy. So if you're going to work for someone for the first time, or you are changing departments, or you're going into a new organization for the first time, you should make sure that you understand how they're thinking about success. And the conversation goes like this. Jim, what needs to happen in order for you to say, I knocked the cover off the ball and the ball out of the park? If Jim says, Mary, you do the following 5 things that I will consider that an out-of-the-box performance. Now, Mary, you know exactly what you're playing for. You know how to maximize your success in that role. But more importantly, if Jim says, I don't know, Mary, you always do a good job. Just do what you always do. Mary, note to self. Houston, we have a problem. Because if Jim can't tell you what success looks like, you will never maximize your success in that role. Because success will always be shifting. And that will make your performance vulnerable to outside influences on Jim. So if Jim can't tell you what success looks like in that role, you should say, Jim, you're not sure what success looks like? Give me 10 minutes. I'll tell you what I think success looks like on this project. You tell me what you like and what you don't like. And after those 10 minutes now, Mary, you know exactly what you're playing for. And another helpful hint, for those of you who might be looking for a job or interviewing for a new opportunity, you can use this same pearl. There are very few jobs where your prerequisite experience is the dominant factor in making the affirmative decision to hire you. The key to a successful interview is understanding what the buyer is really buying. The only thing that I had on my resume when I got my first Wall Street job was McDonald's. McDonald's. Now you might have to say, what is flipping hamburgers and a Big Mac and a quarter pounder has to do with buying and selling stocks? But when I sat in that interview chair, I said to the interviewer that I was made crew member of the month while I was still on probation. For my fellow McDonald's people in here, you know McDonald's puts you on probation for 90 days before they actually give you the job. I was made crew member of the month while I was on probation. I consistently had the highest grossing register every night. I was made a manager while I was still in high school, and I always won the prize for suggesting sales. You know, when you go to McDonald's, you say, I want a Big Mac, you're supposed to say, can I get you an order fry? I always say, can I get you an apple pie with that? So I got the prize. What did that say to the interviewer? Wow, she is respected by her peers. She likes to win. She knows how to penetrate client thought. She is commercial. What do you have to do to be successful on Wall Street? You got to be commercial. You have to know how to penetrate client thought. You must be respected by your peers, and you better like to win. They could teach me about stocks and bonds. What the buyer was really buying were those other qualities. So if you want to maximize your success in an interview, understand what the buyer is really buying, and make sure that you connect the dots between who you are, your strengths and weaknesses, and those adjectives that they associate with success. If you have gotten an offer from a firm and you are not sure whether or not you should take that job, there are 3 questions that you need to ask. The first one is, give me the profile of somebody who's outstanding in this environment. Give me the profile of your superstar. They are going to give you adjectives as they describe that person. Those are the adjectives that you want to use and make sure that you are exhibiting that behavior. Then the next question, give me the profile of somebody who gets fired. Give me the profile of somebody who just gets wiped out in this environment. That'll tell you how they're thinking about failure. Third question, who's committed to my success? You can't do it by yourself. I don't care how smart you are or how hard you work. You will need other relationships, which leads me to the second pearl. You cannot do it alone. You cannot do it alone. You will need other relationships and somebody else's capital if you want to maximize your success in the seat that you're sitting in or the seat that you aspire to sit in. And the 3 relationships that I write about in chapter 5 is the advisor, the mentor, and the sponsor. And the reason I wrote about that is that popular business press loves to say, you need a mentor, you need a mentor, you need a mentor. But they don't tell you what a good mentor is supposed to do for you. Nor do they delineate the difference between the mentor and the sponsor. The advisor is the person that you can ask discrete questions of. Oh, Professor Oliver, I'm going to be doing my first client presentation. Can you walk me through the table of contents? I want to make sure that I don't miss anything in the assignment. Oh, Victor, can you introduce me to Paul? I'm going to be working with him for the first time. I'd like to get to know him before we start this. Oh, Mary, can you walk me through this calculation? I think we did it differently at my old company. I want to make sure that I get that right. Those are discrete questions that you can ask of an advisor. A mentor, on the other hand, is the person that you can tell the good, the bad, and the ugly to. This is the person that you can share the intimate details of your career with. Your fears, your concerns, your triumphs, your mistakes, your strategies. I'm in this box, but I really want to be in this box. So tell me who I need to get to know and how do I work with them in order to get there. This is the person that you can share those details with. So you must trust this person. And this person must know you very well. Don't just choose someone and say, oh, Claudia has been in this business for 20 years. She's going to be my mentor. Because if she doesn't know you very well, she cannot be a good mentor to you. She can be an outstanding advisor, and an advisor relationship can mature into a mentoring relationship. But she cannot be a great mentor to you. Because a mentor's job, and listen closely, a mentor's job is to give you tailored advice, tailored specifically to you and to your career aspirations. So by definition, they must know you very well. If I know Mike and I know Tom, and they both want to become vice presidents, and I'm a good mentor, I will give them 2 different strategies because they are 2 different men. And my job is to give them advice that they can successfully execute that's based on their unique strengths and weaknesses. And you must make sure that the person that you choose as your mentor has your best interest at heart. When they are talking to you, you need to be clear that there is only one agenda item, and that is you. Now, the only person that I've kept as my mentor for 25 years is another senior woman in a completely different business. And I say this to you because your mentor does not need to be within your organization, nor do they need to look like you, but they must understand your context. They must understand the context that you're working in. I trust this person, and I know she understands my context. And whenever I'm about to have one of those conversations with the boys and tell them exactly how much I think I ought to get paid and why I think I ought to get paid that and how much should be in stock, cash, I'll call her and tell her exactly what I'm going to say. And generally she'll say, and Carla, what outcome are you expecting with that conversation? Perhaps you should use these words, juxtaposition the sentences this way, because ladies and gentlemen, after all, it's not about whether or not you can use the King's English. It's about whether or not you say it in a way that your listener will embrace it and act upon that which you want them to act upon. So she will push my buttons to see whether or not the intonation of my voice will change. And I trust her to always give me good advice. Now, as quiet as it's kept, you can survive a very long time in your career without a mentor. But you will not ascend in any organization without a sponsor. The sponsor is the most important of the three relationships. And as I said earlier, the mentor is the person that you can tell the good, the bad, and the ugly to. The sponsor is not the person you tell the good, the bad, and the ugly to. The sponsor is the person you tell the good, and the good. Because this is the person that is carrying your paper into the room. This is the person that behind closed doors will argue passionately on your behalf as to why you should get the great bonus, why you should get the promotion, why you should get the next great opportunity. Make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, they are spending their valuable political and social capital on you. So there needs to be a very good reason why they are spending that capital on you. And you need to be able to articulate why you are worthy of their spending that capital on you. And if you can't articulate why you are worthy of their spending that capital on you, I will tell you to retreat from looking for a sponsor until you can articulate your own value proposition. Every year, somebody's not going to get promoted. Every year, somebody's not going to get the great bonus. Do not take it personally. That is the law of the jungle. But the sponsor's job is to make sure the person getting left behind that year is not you. So, my big aha was the year that I was up for the big promotion to managing director. I knew exactly what I was playing for. I knew how the process worked. And I knew who had seats around the table. So as I started thinking about it, I said, boy, he's going to fight for him. She's going to fight for him. He's going to fight for her. And as I went around the table, I could not with confidence say who was going to pound the table for me. And I said, uh-oh, my promotion is vulnerable. Not because I haven't earned it, not because I don't have seniority, and not because there isn't great client feedback about me, but because I can't say who's going to spend some capital on me behind closed doors. So I knew that my promotion was vulnerable, despite the fact that I had earned it. So I went to someone who I knew had a seat at the table. Now I said earlier, your mentor did not need to be within your organization. Your sponsor, on the other hand, must be within your organization. They must have a seat at the decision-making table, and they must have the juice to get it done for you. So I went to this person and I said, it's very important for me to get promoted this year. There's nothing else that I can show the organization about my readiness or my worthiness. But you and I both know that somebody has to be behind closed doors pounding the table on my behalf. You know me, you know my work, you know the client feedback, and I think you would do a terrific job on my behalf. So the guy sort of hummed. But then he said yes. Now why was that an important conversation for me to have? If he had told me no, he was going to have to tell me why. And that would have been important data for me from which to make a decision. Ladies and gentlemen, data is your friend. Data is your friend. Data is your friend. You can't fix it if you don't know that it's broken. So you should always create a safe place where someone will be willing to give you the real data. And let me put a comma here and talk to my sisters in the room. The little secret is, most organizations, and I would go so far as to say all organizations, are non-confrontational. So when somebody thinks it's going to be a hard conversation to give you feedback, they just won't give it to you. And so many of us walk into our evaluative conversations like this. And your manager walks in, they take one look at that, they go, oh no, I'm not going to touch that. Right? And I can't tell you how many people have asked me over the course of 4 years, Ms. Harris, I don't understand what's happening in my career. I don't understand why I'm not moving up. I'm working really hard. I'm getting good feedback. I said, well, tell me what they said in your last evaluation. It was good, it was good. I said, what they tell you? It's good, just keep on doing what I'm doing. I said, no data. So you have to create a safe place where somebody will give you the real data. You can't fix it if you don't know that it's broken. So you always want to hear the data. So create an opportunity for somebody to really give you the data. So I trusted that this guy would get it done behind closed doors. He said yes, he would follow. Now y'all know I'm from the South, so I believe in insurance. So I went to somebody who was a key influencer to other people around that table, just in case he got a little weak behind closed doors. But it's important for you to be able to answer the question, who's carrying my paper into the room? And if you can't tell me who's carrying your paper into the room, I will tell you to stop working so hard and divert some of your energies towards building a sponsor relationship, because it is critical to your ability to ascend in any organization. Third pearl that I want to leave you with is this whole concept of taking risks. If you consider yourself a leader in the 21st century, you must be comfortable taking risks. 15 years ago, you could create a competitive differential for yourself in the marketplace if you had information that other people didn't have. But today, information is a commodity. So the way that you can show that you are comfortable is to be the person that will step up and take on that new assignment. Don't be the kind of person that's holding on so tight to that one thing that you think you know, and I'm expert at that and I really don't want to try that new thing. You will never grow. And remember, you can't get to second base if your foot is still on first. Amen? Amen. So I tell you, in the environment that we've been in, people have been saying to me, oh, don't rock the boat, they're laying off people, they are restructuring, so just keep your head down, don't take any risks. Well, the College of New Rochelle, I'm here to tell you that keeping your head down will not keep you from getting shot. You might as well keep your head up so you can see the bullet coming. Because what I'm saying is that when we are in environments like we're in now, where everybody is besieged with fear and everybody is ducking, you have clear vision. You have clear vision to see the opportunity. This is exactly the kind of environment where you should put your foot on the gas. This is an environment where you should say, oh, I know we're trying to cut costs. Here are my 2 suggestions about how we should do that. I know that we're trying to increase our top line. I have 3 thoughts about why we should do that. Oh, and by the way, I know we have 2 people doing the same job that 8 people were doing. That sounds like a process redesign. I'd like to take that on. Translation to management, oh boy, she's not worried about getting laid off. He's not worried about losing his job. He's trying to put the ball down the field. She's trying to put points on the board. She is a keeper. But when I ask myself why we don't take risks, the only thing I can come up with is that we're scared. It's fear. And hear me clearly. Fear has no place in your success equation. Fear has no place in my success equation. And anytime I feel it creeping up the back of my neck, I remind myself of that old saying, it's just false evidence of things appearing real. What's the worst that can happen if you take a risk and it doesn't work out? So you fail. But guess what? Failure always brings you a gift. And that gift is called experience. Now you know how to do it better. Now you know how to do it differently. Now you know how to do it successfully. At the margin, it is always worth taking the risk. And if you are shown a new opportunity and you're not sure whether or not you should take on that new risk, ask yourself 3 questions. Will the new thing give you skills and experiences that you would not get if you stayed in your current seat another 12 months? Second question, will the new thing expose you to people, relationships, and networks that you would not get if you stayed in your current seat another 12 months? The third question is, will the new thing create new branches on your personal decision tree of opportunity? I.e., you could go off and do some other things that you wouldn't have been able to do if you stayed in your current seat another 12 months. If the answer to all 3 of those questions is yes, you should absolutely take the risk. The fourth pearl that I want to leave you with is the pearl of authenticity. You are your own competitive advantage. Nobody can be you the way that you can be you. Yes. When you got your opportunity, somebody else didn't get the opportunity. That's right. Because you are the best person for the job. So the last thing that you should ever do is to submerge that which is uniquely you. And your authentic decision begins with choosing an environment where you know you can largely be you. Yes. When I made the decision to be an investment banker, I also made the decision that I liked wearing this uniform. Yes. Every job has a uniform. Yes. So for me, that meant I had to have tailored suits, St. John suits. I was prepared to do that because that was part of what I was buying. If I wasn't willing to wear this uniform, it would not have been an authentic decision for me to go into investment banking. So your authenticity begins with choosing an environment where you can largely be you. And if your success depends upon your ability to build relationships and to successfully connect with people, you must bring your authentic self to the table. People know when you are bringing the real you to the table, just like you can tell when someone's not bringing the real them to the table. And if you bring the real you to the table, people will trust you. And trust is at the heart of any successful relationship. So make sure that you are bringing the best of who you are and your authentic self and all of you to the table. Because you don't know what part of you will allow somebody to connect with you in a way that nobody else can, which will create a competitive advantage for you. When I first started in this business, I didn't want anybody to talk about the fact that I was a singer. As you've heard from President Huntington, I've done 4 sold-out concerts at Carnegie Hall. I have 3 CDs, but I didn't want anybody to talk about the fact that I was a singer. Because I wanted to be known as a no-nonsense, hard-driving, analytical, quantitative investment banker. I'm not here to sing and dance, boys, but let's not get it twisted. I don't want anybody to talk about that. Until I saw the client reaction. I would go into a pitch, and my colleagues would say, "Oh, this is Carla Harris, our capital markets banker. But what you really ought to know about Carla, she's an amazing gospel singer, and she's done CDs, and she's done concerts, and blah, 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 blah." And there I was rolling my eyes until client says, "Really? You're a singer? Oh, I so admire people who can sing. And I personally love to sing. My family will only let me sing in the shower. And maybe you can talk to my daughter about integrating her academics and her music, and blah, 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 blah." And there we were having a 15-minute meeting before the meeting. College of New Rochelle, are you with me? Yes. The meeting before the meeting. Yes. So when I sat down to pitch as a capital markets banker, they heard me with a different ear. They saw me through a different lens. Because Carla Harris, the singer, was allowed to be in the room with Carla Harris, the banker, I naturally differentiated myself from the other 5 bankers who would come in there and pitch that same ideal that day. So now whenever I walk into a new situation, I bring Carla Harris, the investment banker, Carla Harris, the investment manager, Carla Harris, the prayer warrior, Carla Harris, the speaker, Carla Harris, the writer, Carla Harris, the golfer, Carla Harris, the sometime football fan. I bring all those Carlas together. Which Carla would be the one that would connect that relationship in a way that nobody else can? Your authenticity is your distinct competitive advantage. And as I close, the last pearl that I want to leave you with is the most important component of anybody's success equation, is an expectation that you will do well. You have to know that you know that you know that every class that you've had, every experience that you've had, every relationship that you've had has uniquely informed your ability to maximize your success in the seat that you're sitting in or the seat that you aspire to sit in. But if you want to maximize your success, you must exercise your power and use all the tools that are in your tool chest. And for me, there are 4 things in the tool chest. There is first the spiritual word. There is the academic background. There is your experiential learning, and there is your network. And the one that I find that people don't use the most is the network. It's one of the most important things in your tool chest. It's as simple as what your mother told you. It's not what you know, but who you know. Who you know. And most of us won't access our network. And every one of us has a network. You might be sitting there right now saying, "I don't know anybody, I don't really have a network," but I submit grade school? You went to junior high. You went to high school, or you wouldn't be sitting in here. So you know somebody, and everybody that you met is a part of your network. But most of the time, we don't want to ask for help. And we don't want to ask for help because either, number one, we are afraid of being exposed as not knowing those things that we think people think we ought to know, so we better not ask for help. The second thing is that you are afraid to ask for help because you think someone will turn you down. Well, I will say to you that if you ask someone for help and they turn you down, there is only one word, and that is next. Where one person isn't willing to help you, somebody else will. But you can't let one person's rejection stop you on your ascension to maximizing your success in the seat that you're sitting in or the seat that you aspire to sit in. Remember, winners may ask when, they may ask how, but they never ask if, because they know how the story ends. And if you want to maximize your success, you must use all the tools in your tool chest. Exercise your power to do that. I close with this story. Young man that I absolutely adore, summa cum laude undergrad, came to work for Morgan Stanley for 3 years, rated outstanding in all 3 years, went off to an international assignment, and then decided that he wanted to go to one of those great business schools in the East. Called me up, and he said, you know, I've applied, but I haven't heard anything, and I know you know people up there. Can you make a phone call for me to kind of figure out what's going on with my candidacy? I said, absolutely. Picked up the phone, called the admissions director. I said, hi, I just want to talk to you about so-and-so candidate. She said, oh, funny you should call today. We were just about to send out the reject letters. I said, oh no, wait a minute, let me tell you about this candidate. So I went into my pitch, and she said, consider that you've done something great for someone today. We're going to give him an opportunity to interview. No guarantees that he gets in, but we'll let him tell his story. You have made great recommendations to us over the last decade, so we'll give him a shot. I said, thank you very much. I left the phone, picked up the phone, called the candidate. You were right. You were just about to get dinged, but you're going to get an opportunity to interview, and I want you to leave it on the floor. Leave it on the floor. 4 days later, admissions director calls me. She said, I saw your candidate. I said, and? She said, loved him. Loved him. He's in. And you can call him if you like. I said, oh no, I would never take away that thrill from getting that call from your institution. 4 days later, candidate calls me. I just wanted to call and let you know that I got in. I said, no, I know, I've been sitting on it. And he said, I just want to say thank you. And I said, no, the gratitude does not go to me. The applause goes to you because you used your network. If you had not picked up the phone to call me, you would have had a markedly different outcome in your aspiration to matriculate in that institution. And he said, but it was so hard to call you and admit something could be wrong with my candidacy. I said, you know how highly I think of you. Short of you dropping your pants on the Brooklyn Bridge, there's nothing that's going to make anything any differently about you. I have put myself in your way to be used. Ladies and gentlemen, if somebody has put themselves in your way to be used, use them. Use them. Your network is one of the most important tools in your tool chest. And if you feel uncomfortable using your network, the easiest way to get comfortable using your network is to put yourself in somebody else's way. Use your intellect and your influence on somebody else's behalf, and watch how fast your network will come and work for you. Every class that you have had, every experience that you have had, every relationship that you have or you have had has uniquely informed your ability to maximize your success in the seat that you're sitting in or the seat that you aspire to sit in. If you expect to win College of New Rochelle, you will. I thank you, and the floor is yours.